We are live at Collision 2016, and I am here with Vinicius David from AIDAX. Vinicius, thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Thanks, Ashley. It's a great pleasure for me to be here and, actually seeing the closing bell directly from New Orleans. Such an exciting thing, and as an advisor of an early startup company, one day we dream to be with you guys there listing. Why not?
Well, we would definitely love to have you list with us someday as you grow your business. So can you tell our viewers a little bit about your company?
Sure. We are an early stage startup, actually based in Brazil, and we're a retention marketing platform that actually takes conversion to the next level, and we aim to dominate the local markets. It's a huge market for us in Brazil. Actually, probably you guys know Brazil is actually in a recession, but actually the online business is growing double digit, and Brazil is one of the most social active countries in terms of social media, Facebook, Instagram, and everything. So we want to be able to actually get companies to dominate that space with a smarter and simpler platform and application.
It's fantastic. It sounds like a really cool tool. So when was the company founded? Obviously out of Brazil. Can you tell us when it was founded and what some of the milestones that you've had thus far?
The company is a very early company. Actually, the team started actually a year ago only. And the funny thing is, the team started, from a digital marketing, agents that was actually running a political campaign. And, one of the objectives was actually to drive fans on this candidate Facebook page. And actually the team, facing some of these challenges, they created an algorithm that actually led that candidate to have more fans per minute than Lady Gaga at the time, and more followers than Lady Gaga on Twitter, which is a cool thing. And from there, the business expanded. This can really become a marketing intelligence and a retention marketing tool. And that's what we're trying to point here.
It's amazing. So who are the players in this space? Obviously, marketing, software technology is huge. Who do you see as a competitor?
Sure. Honestly, I think in the local markets, we don't have a competitor today. We do have a lot of people trying to do or doing a lot of great things in this space, such as Mixpanel and others that are very big. But we have some advantages. We have some differentiators, and we believe that as we refine the product, as we get more and more people using, we're going to achieve a position to eventually come and face these people outside of our local markets.
So how are you monetizing? Obviously, this is an important piece in scaling the business. What does that model look like today?
So, good question. Today we have a model that is very, I'd say, consulting-centric, right? So we go in, we're selling and targeting enterprises and corporations, but we're actually moving to a SaaS model, right? Because, it's not sustainable to scale the business, in enterprise and corporate. Yet, it's one of the areas that we see a lot of opportunity. I actually come in and work for a Fortune 50 company. I run a large services division for a large Fortune 50 company, and one of the issues we have is really the complexity and the difficulty that we have to actually become best in class in e-commerce, right? So it takes time. I need to run multiple different RFPs, work with 10 different vendors. What do we do with AIDAX? We put everything in a box, and we do that, overnight.
So what are you focusing on now? 1 year old, is there a particular part of the product that you're focusing on? And if you look out into 2, 3, and 5 years, where do you see this company going and growing and morphing?
In terms of roadmap, simply put, our focus remains on the product. The core product needs to scale, and we need to move from enterprise to SMB and have it as a SaaS application that we don't have today. Today is a technology application, right, that we sell to IT-centric departments, right? Now, we need to sell directly to the end user. We need to sell directly to the owner of the store. We need to sell to the business manager. And for that, the next roadmap for us is going to be actually the launch of the SaaS application. And by the end of the year, we hope to break the 150,000 barrier in terms of revenue. And in 5 years, we'd like to come back to the enterprise space and the corporate space, but with a much more robust, I'd say, footprint in SMB.
Absolutely. That sounds like a really cool model and a great way to start. A lot of times you see the inverse. You see somebody starting with the consumer, the high volume, low value, not low volume, high value. So from a monetization model, that sounds like an interesting approach. We talk a little bit how you're marketing and how you're actually getting yourself out there. It's one of the hardest things to do as a startup, and what have you guys done to date, and what do you hope to do in the future?
That's it. It's a very good comment you have in the question. The reason why we actually started in enterprise is because it was a good way for us to start a company without relying on seed investment and angel investment, right? So with basically one or two very successful applications and developments in enterprise, you can actually generate some scale for you to keep the business running. Right now, as we think about growing, that's where actually we want to go in SMB, right?
So let's take it back to the company and the journey. The early days can be really, really tough for anybody who's been in a startup. What is one of your favorite memories, and also on the flip side, not so favorite memories?
I've been working with these guys for just a few weeks, right? But I know this is a team that I love. I think these guys have a lot of passion, and these are people that are very technical savvy on what they do, and they have also all their technologies, and they founded different startups. But I think the fun thing has been really to understand that enterprise is not a place for us to be in the next years, right? So we really need to transform the business and move to the SMB space with a SaaS application. And this is going to be one of the cool and fun things for us that will keep us busy.
So, founded in Brazil, are we operating only in Brazil, or are we covering other regions?
Only operating in Brazil. The software and the technology is ready to to take off in different markets, but we want to focus there. Only the e-commerce market in Brazil, it's a $10 billion market. It's huge, right? If we coin, let's say, 20% of that market, if we get maybe 30% retention, that is going to be huge enough, right? And this is one of the biggest advice that I have to the team. I've been in Silicon Valley for such a long time. I know the space. It's wild, right? So make sure that you dominate your local market, gain scale, and then you can start the adventure globally.
That's great advice. Get your home backyard locked down, and then think about scaling. Otherwise, you're just going to spread yourself too thin. So, being a board member and an advisor comes with its own unique traits and skills. What do you recommend to those who want to be a board member or advisor in terms of coaching a startup in the early days and helping them through their journey? What are some tips that you can share?
Absolutely. This is a great question, by the way. So it starts with you realizing that you can help, right? And there's a lot of people that needs actually help. And, the advice that I give is really find your footprint, find your personal brand, find things that you've been doing for such a long time that you can actually implement in a smaller scale that can help actually people to scale and become successful, right? So, and actually go and find your passion, right? So to me, e-commerce, getting problems resolved, getting the product right to the market and growing and scaling and making companies and small businesses becoming big businesses, that's what I've been doing in my company, right? So in my Fortune 50 company, that's what I love. That's what these people need. So that's when the win-win comes.
That's fantastic. What is the culture like for this team? And I don't know if we addressed it, maybe we did, but how many employees and what's the culture like? A lot of startups, it's funky, hip, got dogs and animals and all sorts of fun things. Or is that a stereotype, right?
Oh, that's a pretty cool question. Actually, the culture is very startup centric, right? So they don't have a dog at the office. Maybe they'll have, but we have video games. We have, people who have a dream to one day go to Silicon Valley, right? So that's typically, what people want to do, right? So it's easy for us to forget, we are in Silicon Valley, but it's easy to forget that, there are people across the globe whose dream is just to be there, right? And these guys are just passionate about what they do. They're very tech savvy, as I mentioned, right? And very committed and not afraid of taking risks. They're very, very aggressive, and that's what I like about these guys, right? So they're always ready to take risks. But the important thing, they're very open to change. When I came in and started to advise them, hey, we need to go to a very different direction, they were very humble and they're very open to go. And that's, to me, the most important thing, because sometimes you see startups where they believe that their idea is great, but actually they don't see that that idea is actually, something that already exists.
So that's a great point, being able to shift and be able to adapt, and especially in the early days, we talk about the pivot and how many pivots do you actually have to go through before you become that successful company that's profitable, and then eventually, a public company. That it's important to be able to do that. So, do we know where in terms of the product life cycle, you want to move into the SaaS model, you want to move there. Are you guys doing weekly releases, monthly releases? What is the frequency there?
We're doing actually quarterly releases, right? So for our main SaaS roadmap. But as I mentioned, we're still in enterprise, so we need to adjust and we need to develop solutions and redevelop solutions every day, right? We have these large customers and in different segments, right? So we have, one of the largest customers we have is the largest insurance company local, right? So the other one is a grocery chain, right? So very different businesses. We need to adapt. We need to adapt and move and adjust as they get more retention, as they get more conversions. They always call for more. So that's what we do in the enterprise space, is a daily release. SMB, it's going to be probably a quarterly release.
Fantastic. Well, we're going to go ahead and wrap up. I'll leave it with one last question. If you were going to give someone one piece of advice on starting their own business, obviously being a board member and advisor and have been through so many successful companies, what would that advice be?
This is all about the team and the diversity of the team, right? So a team that is successful needs to have someone that has the experience in the industry, someone that knows how to scale a business, yet it needs to be a great team, technically speaking. You have a great CTO, you have a great founder that knows everything about the market, and also you have a great product team. I think having the strongest team in your industry for something that probably doesn't exist already or something that exists that you want to disrupt is the biggest deal.
Well, thank you very much, Vinicius. This has been a pleasure chatting with you. If people want to learn more about AIDAX, where can they go to keep in touch?
www.idaxbi.com.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on the show.